The Trinka Podcast, academic writing done right. Hi, my name is Dr. KK and this is a new episode of the Trinka Podcast series. And in this episode, I'm very excited because I have a guest and I'm going to interview Trinka D'Cunha, the person who Trinka AI, and this podcast is named after. Let's start the interview. Hi Trinka, how are you doing?
Hi Kiki, doing very well.
I'm very excited to have you in the podcast. How do you feel being a part of the podcast? That the podcast is named after you.
Well, I'm quite happy to be here and to be on a podcast of talking about something that we have created from scratch and which so many people are using and finding very helpful. So I'm really glad to be here.
Very, very nice, very nice. So, Trinka, I'm going to ask you some questions about your journey and your experience. So, Let's start with the first question. So, you've been in Crimson for what I think is 13, 14 years now. So, how has your journey been in Crimson so far?
Oh, it's been wonderful. I mean, Crimson is a company that cherishes language and promotes language, and I love tinkering with language. So it's been a great journey, starting from teaching editors on the rubrics of editing, basic grammar, and the different editorial styles, and now teaching the computer English grammar, which is a different thing altogether.
So, I think you have a teaching experience before you joined Crimson. Would you like to speak some about it?
Yes. I've been teaching different age groups, right from school children to adults, and it's every person is a different experience when you teach. So it's taught me a lot. In fact, I have learned, I think, more from them than they from me. I wish it was the other way around, but yeah, it's enriched my life, and I love teaching, and be it a human, be it a computer. Teaching is both exciting.
Yeah, that's a wonderful aspect about teaching. I think I'm passionate about teaching. I guess you know that already, Trinka.
Yeah.
And I get to learn so much by teaching others. So now you've been with the Trinka AI team for a few years. How has the journey been so far with the team?
Well, it's been an adventure. We started off with one person. The team became two people for a very long time, where we were finding out how to do things. There's a problem we know, but now we did not know how to solve it. And through a lot of trial and error, mainly errors, we somehow found a way, and here we are.
That's part of learning from errors and making a lot of errors. That's how I think
and having a great team. You need a really great team, inquisitive minds. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So what drives you in doing the work that you do in terms of language technology, which will eventually help researchers in their quest to publish their research and findings?
Well, the main goal is to help researchers. And I've seen the struggles that researchers face when writing a paper. And a lot of researchers are not speakers of English. I'll say native speakers of English, right? So seeing their struggles, we always wanted to have a way for them to write easily, so that they could focus on the science or on the message that they want to convey through their research, right? So working on that problem, we managed to build a tool, and which is now helping so many researchers all over the world.
Very cool, very cool. So how do you think, in what ways, I would paraphrase, can Trinka AI help researchers doing the work that they do?
All right. So let's say it starts off with an idea, a hypothesis. You have an idea and you want to see if anybody else has done something similar, or if they have done something similar, what have they found out about it? Because that's literature that will give you a background, that will support or rebut what your hypothesis is. So we have discovery tools that will help any researcher find such research, as well as save a lot of time in reading the papers or deciding which papers to read by our summarization tools. So that really saves a lot of time for a person to understand where their research is placed. And of course, when it comes to writing, we have our Trinka AI writing tool, the assistant, which will help polish the language or correct it if necessary, and make it adhere to the formal writing style, which generally is followed in academic English, as well as different style guides like the AMA or the APA. It does not just end with writing. Then you've got to submit it to a journal, right? Your target journal. So Trinka AI also helps you choose the journals you want to submit your paper to, as well as check whether the paper has it has met the compliances that a regular manuscript should have.
Excellent. So a researcher who's exploring Trinka AI can find tools that can help them right from the research discovery process until they submit it to their journal. And so it covers
exactly.
a whole suite of tools. We would love for listeners and viewers to explore these tools. You can search for Trinka AI on a search engine and you can find us there. So Trinka, this podcast is, I would say that it is your baby. It is your vision. And it is a way in which you and I are both passionate about communicating what we know, teaching and spreading the knowledge that we have. And that's one of the reasons why we have this podcast, and that's why we are talking on the podcast. So in future episodes of the Trinka podcast, what would you like us to cover for our listeners and viewers?
Right. So we are living in exciting times right now with the advances that have been made in AI, particularly in the written language. So far, the advancements were mainly in image and in speech. Text was behind. But now with the advent of these really large language models like ChatGPT or Jurassic or Bard, you can it writes so fluently, it looks like a human has written it. All right. But what are the drawbacks too? There are some things that we need to keep in mind when using such tools. So yes, definitely this podcast would be covering topics on these updates or these new technologies and how to use them appropriately, right? I'm a language nerd, so definitely languages, topics on grammar, on etymology, the words, how they have evolved over time, and maybe correct usage too. All right. So those are topics I would love to see being covered on the podcast, and whatever tools researchers find helpful at every stage of their research.
Anything apart from that, as in considering, many of our listeners and viewers are from the non-native English speaking world?
So I would say different writing technologies that will help write fluently, but not only just write fluently, also to learn something from it. So do these tools provide any feedback? Like, do they tell you why something's gone wrong? Or why a certain, maybe to use a grammar term, why a certain verb should be used with a certain subject, right? So the tools like that, as well as there are different other language tools available online these days. For example, you have different a tool known as a corpus tool, which brings together large collections of text where you can search for frequently used phrases. Right, so there are a plethora of tools out there, especially for non-native speaker or a person who doesn't use English regularly and who wants to write in English. These tools will turn out to be really helpful.
Excellent. So thanks for these detailed answers, Trinka. Now let's get to some less serious, more fun aspects in the interview. So I'm going to ask you some quick questions, and you can provide a brief answer. So the first question: what is your favorite breakfast?
It's half fried eggs with the Goan bread, or poi as we call it.
Excellent. So a listener or a viewer interested in getting the bread that you just mentioned, can they get it? Is there a way that, let's say somebody from, maybe from Japan, can they get it?
Well, you need to come to Goa because you can only enjoy it in Goa. Outside Goa, it doesn't taste that good. Come to Goa and have it. It tastes the best.
Yeah, if somebody is curious, I love toasted poi with scrambled eggs. That's one of my favorite breakfasts as well.
Yeah.
So Trinka, who is the one person who has inspired you the most in your life?
That would be my mom. She lived through difficult times, and she taught me to be independent and also to be curious about things. If you have a question, go and find out the answer to that question. All right, even if it just raises your the curiosity antenna out, go and find out what it is.
Yeah, the fire of curiosity. That's what our teachers and I think our mentors have always done, and that's why you and I are doing what we do. So the last quick question would be: what is the one book that you would like to take to an island?
Oh, okay, that would be a difficult question to answer. I have a collection of books that I would like to take and read over and over again. So I would say one of them would be, it's a classic, that would be Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy, right? Mm-hmm. And the series by what's his name? Uh, Children of Time, Tchaikovsky, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I love his books. Okay. And definitely graphic novels like V for Vendetta um, and some more. I can't recall them right now. But
That's
yeah, it
fine.
would be a collection. I can't just take one book.
Okay.
That's not a good question to ask people.
Okay. Then I'll ask you another quick question. Which is the last movie that you were inspired by?
Okay. Okay, this is going to be the recency effect. So the last
Yeah.
movie I was inspired by was a short documentary movie made on a couple that looked after an elephant, and the beautiful connection between the elephant and the couple, and also the surroundings in which the elephant is brought up in. It was an orphaned elephant. I can't recall the name, but it has been nominated for this year's Oscars, so I guess it'll
Oh,
be
I
easy to
see.
find. Yeah, it's on Netflix too.
Right, it's on Netflix. Okay, people
Yeah.
who are interested can check that
That
out.
was very
I-
inspirational.
Yes, I'm going to check that out too. So Trinka, I'm going to give you in the next section. I'm going to give you a couple of choices. You'll have to choose. You don't have to explain why, but if you have a quick explanation, that is also fine.
Okay.
So, Aretha Franklin or Beyonce?
Aretha Franklin, hands down.
Okay, that gives away what kind of music that you like. So, coffee or tea?
Coffee. Anytime.
How do you like your coffee?
Okay. I'm a little indulgent, so with milk and sugar. Both.
All right. Radio or television?
Radio. I love sounds. No matter what language or what instrument. Sounds are great.
All right. Hard copy books or Kindle?
Hard copy, hands down again. I just want to hold that book in my hand and turn the pages, actual physical pages.
All right. At the end of a long day, disco or opera?
Disco. Groove to the beats, yeah.
All right. So there you go, listeners and viewers. You know exactly what Trinka likes. She likes to go to the disco and listen to old music on the radio and sip coffee when she's at home. All right, so that brings us to the end of the episode. So before we go, Trinka, is there anything like a hobby or a pet project that you have that you would like to talk about, so that listeners or viewers can know more about it and maybe watch it or read it somewhere?
Yeah, I love gardening. I have my own little veggie patches and I grow a lot of vegetables. But one project that I'm currently working on, it's in the initial stages, is collecting stories from people around my village. There are so many stories in the world and so many people who have lived for a long time, longer than me, and they have lots to tell, lots of interesting and funny and scary things to tell. So my project, I'm collecting these stories, and hopefully it would be published soon as a collection, starting with my village in Goa.
Excellent. And this is in English?
Yes, the primary language is in English, and then it'll also be in Konkani, which is my native tongue.
I see. And when can we expect to see it out there?
Well, I just started it off, so I hope to finish it in this year, maybe by end of 2024, or let's see. I hope to finish it in 1 year.
Excellent. So Trinka, if somebody who's watching or listening would like to get in touch with you directly, are there any social media handles that you would like to share?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, so you could look for Trinka D'Cunha on Twitter, and you'll get me there.
All right. Thank you, Trinka, for taking time out from your busy schedule to share some of the insights that you have and to let listeners and viewers know more about you yourself. So this is the 5th episode of the Trinka podcast, and if you like the content that we have published so far, please share, like, and subscribe to our channel. We are on all major podcasting platforms as well as on YouTube. And if you find this interesting, please give us 5 stars wherever you can. So that brings us to the end of the episode. For the Trinka AI team and for Trinka, this is Dr. KK signing off for the Trinka podcast, Academic Writing Done Right. I'll see you in the next one.